Hey y'all, welcome back to Movement Link. So I'm gonna spend a few minutes here talking about the one-legged deadlift and the bottom-up kettlebell press and why we like to pair these together and why this is a great kind of exercise prep thing. It works stability, it works balance, it works technique. But really coming off of a general warm-up, it really helps tie some focus and get that extra skill balance work in leading into a workout. The reason I like to pair one-legged deadlifts with the bottom-up kettlebell press mainly is just because you can't do too many light one-legged deadlifts working on balance, and it's almost like a superset. You can't just hammer out these. You're gonna have to take breaks. You already have a kettlebell out. You might as well do something that is very similar to the other thing, so you get to work this balance and stability of the shoulders and of the hips and legs all at the same time. I love pairing these two things together. Let's talk about what this looks like. So for the one-legged deadlift, the main thing you got to keep in mind is that these are not stiff-legged deadlifts. Okay, what happens is so many people quickly realize that it's harder to create that hip angle and then use your legs. You create that hip angle like we would in a deadlift and then use your legs to deadlift your way down than it is to just hip hinge and then just keep hip hinging as they go down. So first mistake people make is they make these into stiff-legged deadlifts, and we have to really keep in mind that there's nothing wrong with stiff-legged deadlifts, but if the intent is deadlift, then we need to be deadlifting. If the intent is stiff-legged deadlift, then we need to be stiff-legged deadlifting. We can do either, but I tend to like, for this exercise, just the deadlifts because I find people struggle with it a little bit more, and so I like to do that one. So the main thing to think about it is, even though they're called deadlifts, don't think of these as deadlifts, think of them as squats. We're doing one-legged squats and your foot's gonna be behind you, okay? So first thing we're gonna need to do here is create stability. And in a squat, we create that stability really by bracing, butt tight, Kegel, belly button drawn in, full foot, and we're gonna screw those feet into the floor. One-legged stuff, we're gonna have to do just a little bit of rotating towards the foot. So this is the most common thing, and this is so hard for people in the gym to grasp, but this hip is in front of this hip. So if I'm standing facing right at you, these hips, hopefully, this is something I actually struggle with, but these hips should be facing right at you. And if I put this hip forward, it would look like this. If I put that hip forward, it would look like that. So if I'm balancing on one foot and my foot is facing the camera, I actually want my hips facing out to the side there. So this hip is forward, this hip is back, or if you think of both of them, they're both gonna be facing out to the side. That's gonna be step one. So I'm not gonna send this trailing leg straight back from the camera. I'm sending it out sideways because that's gonna keep that hip over. The other thing is whenever a joint is an extension, we want internal rotation. So the other mistake we see is the old peeing dog move like this, okay? And so what we need to do is keep that back toe facing down to the ground. So if I send the opposite leg out to the side with the back toe down to the ground, let's get my hip in that internally rotated position. It's gonna give my other hip the stability it needs. Let's go ahead and change sides here. So I'm gonna be facing this way. Leg's gonna go out to that side a little bit. Toe's gonna stay down. And I'm just first starting to look for balance on that foot. Belly button drawn in. Once I have the balance on the foot, I'm creating kind of that angle, and then I'm gonna squat my way just as low as I can. If I get off, I can put that foot down as a kickstand, get centered, get it back up, and I'm looking, can I go to the ground and then come back up? For most people, don't worry about going to the ground, because most people worry about the ground, and so then they dump or they really reach for it. Don't worry about the ground. Worry about squatting down. See, I'm trying to get my balance, I'm waiting. Worry about squatting down, and then hit your end range. If you're at the end range, not at the ground, cool, come back up, perfect. Okay, so one-legged deadlifts, rotate it, squat down, make sure you're in control, come back up. If you're broken, what we tend to see is that's when people spin to the inside. So pay attention to those things. Okay, now the bottom up kettlebell press. Very, very simple. In a push-up, shoulder back, screw my hands into the ground. If I screw my hands into something, it rotates. The key is I can rotate my wrist. I'm trying to rotate my shoulder. Okay, so with my shoulder back in its socket, I'm creating that rotation. And when I do that, I feel it in these muscles back here. So that's the key, because we want to be working the right things here. You can kind of kettlebell swing it up, rotate it. Now I've got it kind of locked in. Check in, everything nice and tight. Press up, give it a little bit of a pause, come back down, and we can do our sets there. Biggest mistakes we see, the elbow goes out and they're trying to make it look like a barbell, but what do we do with a barbell? We screw our hands in. The other mistake we see is they screw hands, and we need to be screwing the shoulder into it. Okay, as we press up, we don't want to lean, do anything goofy, so just nice and tight, press it up. There's not as much technique coaching needed on this one, but these are difficult. What we tend to see is people really struggle on one side, which is good to open people's eyes up to that, but also good because how do we resolve it? This is the type of stuff we do to resolve it. So what I really like to do is just do something like 3 to 5 rounds of 3 to 5 reps. Maybe you start and we progress. I like to touch on it not just once, every now and then, once a week, twice a week, something like that, for like 2 to 4+ weeks in a row. You can progress in weight, you can progress the rep scheme. You can do this stuff like maybe 5 sets of 3 on each side, then 5 sets of 4, 5 sets of 5, yada, yada, yada. And I just like to go, we're gonna go left foot, act like I did 3. Cool, let's go left hand up. So now my left foot is resting. So my left foot is actually gonna get a lot of rest. And then I'm gonna come over right side, yada, yada, yada. All right, so that is the stiff-legged deadlift and the bottom-up kettlebell press kind of workout prep variation. Hope this helps. Talk to y'all soon.